Hello and welcome to Media Pool. My name's Hannah, and in this video essay I will critically reflect on my learning journey throughout my study of viral video over the last academic year. As part of my reflection, I will compare and contrast two of the videos we've produced as a group by critically engaging with viral video theory, as well as incorporating the knowledge of leadership and teamwork theory that I have gained over semester 2 to reflect on how effectively we work together as a group. In addition to this, I intend to theorise that a fear of conflict can hinder a group's performance, as it can mean that issues within a team are not addressed, and to suggest that to deliver constructive feedback in such instances is important for effective team working. Our first group video was called the Hygiene Games. The concept, as described in our pitch, was to demonstrate the importance of hygienic hand washing practice. By choosing an issue that was relevant to both clinical students and a general wider public audience, we hoped that we would be able to meet both the client's requirements as well as meeting the requirements of our course. For this video, we enlisted the help of some of the university's medical students and had them compete with one another as if in a game show to see which of them could wash their hands the most thoroughly. The goal was to reinforce the importance of proper hand hygiene, and in doing so to also promote the School of Medicine's teaching and learning zone. We also aimed to present the students in a positive light, as outgoing students who were invested in their course and happy studying at Liverpool, thus meeting the client's requirements. Contagious Characteristics. For our first group video, we decided to capitalise on several aspects of Burgess Steps framework. Firstly, we incorporated emotion. We capitalised on an informal, tongue-in-cheek aesthetic and included humour throughout in the hope that audiences would find it amusing and thus be more inclined to share. Secondly, the message underlying the humour about the importance of hygiene arguably had practical value too, as it taught the viewer about the ALIF hand washing technique as the proper procedure for washing one's hands. Finally, in terms of social currency, we took a very literal approach to the leveraging of game mechanics. By making the concept fun and game-like, we hope that the notion of competing to have the best hand hygiene practice would add to the contagiousness of the video and perhaps even act as a trigger to influence the wider public and the medical student aspect of the audience, thus incentivising sharing. I think in this respect we perhaps tried to achieve too much as a group. Although we based our decision to take a humorous and entertaining approach on the desires expressed by the client in our first meeting, I personally feel that this may have limited our reach in some ways, as this form of cheesy humour may not have had a wide appeal and was less suited to the topic being dealt with. For our second video, we primarily focused on the following contagious characteristics. Social currency, by making the video come across as novel and interesting, as a slightly less well-known tourist attraction in Liverpool, sharing a video like this would make viewers feel in the know. We also incorporated social value into our concept by pushing the idea that the preservation of the tunnels was an important aspect socially in terms of Liverpool's heritage. Public, because by showing myself getting involved with volunteering for the project, we hope to inspire other members of the public to support the cause too, particularly young people who were our primary demographic. This also involved the use of narrative, as by telling the story of my personal day as a volunteer, it enabled us to tell the more important story of a hard-working team of volunteers who needed support to achieve an important mission. Finally, we used emotion. By having the vlogger proclaim how amazing the experience was, we tried to inspire awe in our audience about the Williamson tunnels, as the tunnels themselves are impressive, as well as perhaps pride amongst the Liverpudlian members of our audience as a fascinating element of their city. In general, learning about viral video theory has been useful in helping me to design in contagious characteristics, because when responding to briefs it has helped me to put myself in the shoes of my audience and consider what I would be more likely to share if I was a member of my own audience. While personally I feel that there is no specific recipe for virality, as it is often based on chance and luck, I do think that incorporating several of the elements of Burgess Steps framework significantly increases the video's prospects of going viral. However, if I were to make one addition to Burgess framework, I would say that context would make a good addition, as a video on a subject which is relevant to topics being discussed in the public sphere and in the media at specific times will likely capture viewer attention and spread more quickly. Genre characteristics. Our first video, the Hygiene Games, may be classed as an educational video in the respect that it taught both university medical students and the wider public about the importance of hand hygiene and the ALIF hand washing technique. However, we attempted to make this educational approach more engaging by adopting an informal approach and by employing a cheesy game show format. Our second group video adopted a vlog-style aesthetic. We incorporated some of the elements that are intrinsic to a travel vlog, such as attempting to influence viewers' decision-making and behaviour. However, the style was arguably closer to a lifestyle vlog, as we aimed to reach more than just travellers and target residents of the local and surrounding areas too. We adopted this format in recognition of the fact that YouTube is an increasingly popular platform for young people. Considering that we were aiming predominantly at recruiting young people to volunteer for the Friends of the Williamson Tunnels, we felt that this would be a relatable and accessible format. Vloggers are also popular amongst young people because they are young themselves. They are also known to be influencers. And so this is what I aim to achieve in assuming the role of a vlogger, to form a relatable, engaging and thus more persuasive vehicle for the delivery of a message which might otherwise not be of interest to a young audience. Creativity, teamwork and leadership. For our first video, in terms of brainstorming, we adopted a hybrid approach. This involved working first independently, i.e. conducting independent research and coming up with ideas to bring back to the group, and then working together by pooling the ideas we had together and trying to build on them to narrow down and formulate our pitches for the client. Unfortunately, this did not work very effectively as not all group members came to the session with ideas to contribute, so our initial ideas were limited, which I think placed pressure on the group to come up with a concept in a very limited time frame. One of our primary concerns was the arguably dry subject matter of the brief, as we worried that our pitches would be too similar to those of other groups, and so devising something original and different proved to be challenging. According to the IDEO's brainstorming rules, effective brainstorming entails encouraging wild ideas, however crazy or unworkable they may seem at first. I took this approach in suggesting the concept of the hygiene games. However, I feel on reflection that this idea should have been considered more fully in terms of the technology and materials we had at our disposal, as we later found out that to create a game show aesthetic in a university environment was difficult. We also found that creating the kinds of game show sound effects and graphics we needed required a more sophisticated understanding of Adobe Premiere Pro than what we'd been able to glean in the training sessions we'd had during the module. This, I feel, resulted in a slightly amateur-seeming output in the finished product. Go! Therefore, in hindsight, I think as a group we should have attempted a more formal and less ambitious aesthetic and spent more time during the brainstorming process considering the technicalities of it. Furthermore, I think that in future, clearer communication with the client to establish their priorities and desired aesthetic would be required, as although we gained high marks for this first assessment for meeting the viral video marking criteria, I feel that had this been a real-life professional scenario in which we were contracted to meet their requirements, the videos produced by other groups who took a more formal approach were more suited to this particular client brief. On the whole, I would describe our team during both projects as a potential team. The reason for this is that we as a group demonstrated some of Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions. For instance, I feel that certain group members demonstrated a lack of commitment at times. For instance, on the shooting of our second group video, not all of our group members were present. The same group members often took a backseat in terms of contributing ideas both during the brainstorming stage and during the editing stage. I feel like this seeming lack of commitment had a knock-on effect in that it created a subtle absence of trust amongst the group members who did contribute, and a concern that if jobs were to be allocated to them, that they would not be completed to a sufficient standard or within an efficient time frame. This resulted in a greater pressure being placed on 2 to 3 members of the group in particular. Due to fear of conflict, this issue was not raised with these group members, and so in future I feel that it would be beneficial to take a more assertive approach in constructively communicating amongst group members to ensure the even distribution of workload. Although it wasn't necessarily equal, the way that we distributed working roles worked effectively, and we still managed to reach our goals. We had a project manager who is incredibly well organised, coordinating the team, liaising with the client and ensuring deadlines were kept to. Another member of our group proved to be particularly proficient with camera handling, which helped to make our content visually engaging and dynamic. Other group members contributed some great acting skills, as well as undertaking essential admin tasks such as organising costumes and finding appropriate background music for our videos. During shooting, I assumed the role of creative director, directing both our team and the extras who featured in the videos to ensure that we got the shots that we needed in a timely manner, as well as problem solving any obstacles we encountered by thinking on my feet for alternative and creative ways to overcome problems we had not anticipated. For example, during video 1, we had not anticipated the learning zone being too busy with students to film in, and so upon this realisation, I quickly located an alternative room for us to film in. Aside from some moments of slight underlying tensions, on the whole we worked together as a harmonious team, and I am proud of what we have achieved together as a group. Intercultural skills. In my opinion, this was an incredibly valuable aspect of this learning experience. At times, we encountered some obstacles, such as when it came to creating subtitles in grammatically correct English, or understanding the strong regional accents of various participants we featured in our videos, such as Ted, who volunteered at the Williamson Tunnels, for instance. However, such obstacles were approached collectively and overcome. Learning the skill of clear communication was intrinsic to this creative process, and it is a skill that I am certain will be beneficial to me in my future career and life. Furthermore, working as a team consisting of international students was a huge advantage, as with access to WeChat and Sina Weibo, two platforms that are incredibly popular in China and other areas of the world, we had access to strong and weak ties on a global scale. This is where I feel I exercise leadership skills. I think my leadership style was predominantly participative or democratic, and I think this style worked particularly well because in seeking to gain consensus and input from other group members, the creative process felt more collaborative and effectively avoided coming across as overly authoritative. However, at times a visionary authoritative approach was necessary, such as when group concentration was dwindling, in order to remobilise the group towards our vision. A coaching leadership style was also sometimes required in encouraging participants to embrace the cheesy and funny aesthetic in their acting in the first video. As is noted by Goleman, the most effective leaders can switch flexibly between styles in response to situations, and thus I feel I demonstrated effective leadership in this situation. At the point of our second video, we had learned that by capitalising on our individual strengths and combining them, we were able to work in a way that is closer to a real team, or a group with complementary skills, who are equally committed to a common purpose, goals and working approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Social media promotion. For the Hygiene Games video, we encountered an obstacle at the promotion stage as I had deactivated my social media accounts for personal reasons at this time, meaning I was unable to contribute to the promotion on platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. However, to bolster the reach of our video, I did use Twitter to promote it, targeting absent ties via direct message who could have been influential in spreading the content, such as the World Health Organization and Twitter pages dedicated to the topic of hand hygiene. For the promotion of our second video, this was not an issue, and we worked collectively as a team distributing the content across a wide range of platforms as possible, including Facebook, Instagram, WeChat and more. Our first video garnered 621 views, 34 likes and 32 comments over the course of the last 2 months. Our second video so far has garnered 244 views, 28 likes and 10 comments. Both videos ranked well in terms of Lindgren's quality scale of user engagement, as viewers actively interacted with the content by leaving positive comments. However, while all the comments were positive, these comments were left predominantly by friends and colleagues, otherwise known as weak ties, indicating that greater investment was needed in reaching out to absent ties in increasing the video's virality. Overall, I feel that I have developed my knowledge and skills over the course of this module in several ways. I feel that this particular module has been the most valuable of all of the modules I've taken in terms of the practical skills gained and the improvement of my employability prospects. I have received a huge amount of positive feedback from people who have watched both my individual videos and my group projects, as well as being approached by a local television station who requested to showcase one of my videos, an achievement which has boosted my confidence in my creative capacities. I have developed resilience and confidence in myself and my performance abilities as a result of the positive comments I have received about my skills as a presenter, skills which are arguably transferable to multiple contexts in life. There are several action points I have identified which will enable me to develop my skills and practice in the future. Firstly, I feel that in terms of group work, taking a more assertive approach in future and addressing any lack of parity in terms of workload in a group scenario is important. I think that constructively communicating my concerns to other group members would have meant that the workload was distributed more evenly. In addition to this, with our first video project, I think that communication with the client could have been more effective. I personally feel that the interests of the client and our own interests as students who were aiming to meet marking criteria conflicted somewhat, and the client were not clear with what they wanted. On one hand, the client suggested that they wanted us to be creative, amusing and entertaining in our pitches. However, we were simultaneously warned to be careful in avoiding portraying the clinical skills in a comical way. Aware of the fact that we were aiming for virality, I feel that we overthought our concept somewhat, trying to shoehorn in an amusing aesthetic. How can we make this funny? On reflection, after having seen some of the more formal and professional approaches taken by other groups, I do not feel that our concept of a cheesy game show was appropriate for this brief. I also feel that in focusing too much on the video's comic potential, we neglected the client's priority to promote the teaching and learning zone specifically. Therefore, in hindsight, if we had not been so preoccupied with the virality of the video, i.e. the course requirements, we could have produced content which was more appropriate to this particular client's needs. As has been pointed out by experienced and professional digital marketing experts, clients often like the idea that a video promoting their company will go viral and be seen by hundreds and thousands of people. But often, they don't realise that they don't want a viral video at all, they want a promotional video. Thus, I feel that it's very important to be able to establish a client's aims and adjust their expectations accordingly. In conclusion, studying viral video has been a very valuable learning experience for me. While I think I preferred having full creative control over my individual video projects in Semester 1, I recognise that working in a group context or being restricted by client requirements are skills I will inevitably need in the future, and so I'm glad to have had the opportunity to develop these attributes. While studying this module has been challenging and considerably time-consuming, the effort that I've invested has given me a new appreciation for the amount of work that goes into video production, knowledge which has equipped me for pursuing a career in film and television. So for the last time, this has been me, Hannah, for Media Pool. Thanks for watching. Join us next time as we put more clinical students through their paces. I've forgotten what's next. Here we